T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Shout out to US ARC and all US ARC members. If you don't know what US ARC is, don't be ashamed. Just go ahead and click the third link in the description below. See what US ARC is all about, okay? You never know when legislations are going to hit your backyard, so that's why it's very important to consider becoming a US ARC member today. These numbers really do matter, and they look at it for consideration when it comes to battling legislation. So first and foremost, thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you to anybody out there who partners up and volunteers with US ARC organization. Thank you for anyone out there who's a US ARC member. And if you can't become a US ARC member today, please talk about it on your platforms. Let your neighbors know, let all your pet stores know what US ARC is here for, and it's here to fight for our animal rights. Thank you to every US ARC member and US ARC supporter out there. True.
Trap Talk Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world. This is Krista with the Girls Who Love Reptiles podcast. Really excited for episode 61 to have L.A.C. Herps on, Andrew and Sarah Gilpin. I really looked up to them as far as breeders in the past several years as I've gone to the Geckos, or Geckos as I should be pronounced. We'll get into that too, I'm sure. But really excited to have them on tonight and just talk about their history and the projects that they're doing. They're producing some really high quality animals and have been highly recommended by several of my friends, especially Brian Susan, very good friends with him, and he highly recommended them for an episode. So again, really excited to have them on tonight. We will be doing a giveaway, a pendant giveaway, so thank you to them for that. So if you have a question, put it in. I'll select the best question at the end for that giveaway, and I'll show a picture of the pendants as well. But big thank you for doing that, and that should be a lot of fun. So we'll get into the sponsors. So we have ReptiCo, the official sponsor of the Girls Who Love Reptiles podcast. We have Channing. She is the daughter of Dawn and Billy Rice from Rice Reptiles. So she's been starting her own company, breeding high-end, high-quality crescent geckos and hognoses. So if you're not following them, go ahead, follow Official ReptiCo on Instagram, follow them on MORPH Market, and then go ahead and follow the Rice Reptile family as well. They're putting out great YouTube content every single week. So go ahead and follow them and subscribe. Also, if you're new here, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell to get notified whenever we go live 7 days a week. And then, of course, we have Brian from SUNDOWN Reptiles. I've always highly looked up to him as a breeder. So he's really into the tree monitors as well as the kahua geckos and a lot of other different gecko species. I have a lot of his production behind me in the room as far as the kahua geckos go. But overall, great guy to know. So if you're interested in those species, definitely reach out to him and he'll just help you with questions or kind of get you set up. And then if you're feeding quail to your animals and looking for a source of quail, definitely reach out to Blake from blakesexoticfeeders. Tell him that the Trap Talk network sent you, and he'll get you set up with some quail. And then we'll go on with RGI, so Rare Genetics Incorporated. So if you're collecting sheds from your ball pythons, go ahead, reach out to RGI, get those sent in. I know they're running a lot of promos now, with the holidays. So if you've been saving them, this is now to kind of cash in, get some good deals on the shed testing. So go ahead and reach out to Ben from RGI to get set up with that. And then we'll finish up with Clutch. So this is an interface to organize your ball python collection, keep track of all your clutches, and organization as far as IDs go and everything on your tubs. Helps for shows too when you're printing out ID labels. So again, if you're looking for a more efficient way to organize your collection, definitely look into Clutch. They're always coming out with new features, and they highly listen to their customers and always wanted to make it the best program that they can. So again, reach out to Clutch. And with that, we'll bring on Andrew and Sarah, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right. Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up, everybody?
What's up? All right. How's your weekend been going? We've talked a little bit backstage and a lot of snow, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's been going pretty good. Been doing some snow blowing and shoveling and just trying to stay warm. So
Staying inside.
yeah, mostly staying inside. But yeah, we got solid 12 inches outside right now. So
that's a lot. I'm not missing that. We talked a little bit. It's my first winter down here. I'm from the Midwest, lived in Indiana, Missouri, so I was always used to a lot of snow and a lot of ice. So this will be the first year I don't have to really deal with that. So we'll see how that is.
That'll be nice.
One of the first times we went down to Florida actually to do some field herping, we got down there and it got below freezing, and we were camping. And we only had these
frost in our sleeping bags.
We had these like flimsy fleece sleeping bags thinking it was going to be nice and toasty, and we were freezing our butts off.
Yeah, it can get cold. There's been a few days where it's been like in the 50s when you wake up, but thankfully not, knock on wood, hasn't gotten much colder than that, 40s, 50s. But that's all relative because you guys are like, oh, that's like t-shirt weather.
Now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fun. So yeah, super excited to have you guys on. Like I said, I've looked up to you guys as breeders and the collection that you guys have produced and your history. So kind of get into all of that. I do want to show a picture of the pendants too, just so people can see that and they can put in questions. Let me see here. I'm going to share my screen real quick. We can find it. There we go. Yep. So there's the pendants. I think you guys can see that on here. But yeah, so if any guest wants to put in a question, we'll choose the one at the end and get this shipped out to you. So yeah, those are really neat. Thanks for doing that, guys.
Yeah, no sweat. Yeah, they're little polished stainless steel pieces that we designed, and just kind of something fun to have around and offer them up as necklaces, or the Gecko eye, the larger one, we can do as keychains. And then we also run like a zipper pulls and stuff too, so you can stick them on like a backpack or jacket or whatever.
Cool. Super cool. All right. Perfect. Stop sharing that. Got some people in the chat ask questions. So yeah, go ahead and get started. Kind of tell us how you kind of got into this, like your history, what got you into the geckos, and we'll kind of go from what species you start off with, and we'll kind of go from there.
We're trying to get the comments to show up. It's showing a few things on there, it looks like.
Yeah, there's a few. I see a few in there.
Okay, cool. That's probably it then.
All right.
Cool. Yeah, well, I've always just kind of kept a few animals. Just, I don't know, start off with like a bearded dragon and Chinese water dragon and stuff back in the day, probably 5th or 6th grade or so. But always just been into field herping and stuff like that. And then
so we got into geckos. He got me my first gecko when I turned 16, as silly as that sounds. We got a crested gecko from a local pet store. So that's kind of where it all started. And then we got a few more and then decided to try breeding them. And then one thing just led to another. And here we are now.
With a few more than a few.
Yeah.
A few more than a few. And when that time was when you got the first crested gecko?
2001.
2001.
Oh, 2002 is when I would have been.
Yeah.
And were they as popular back then as they are now?
They were just starting to show up at pet stores.
Okay.
But like if you went to a small local reptile show, there might be 1 or 2 vendors with like a handful. Like you weren't seeing hundreds at a show or thousands. It was like,
and they were like a lot plainer too, like just phantoms and like what you call flames and stuff. Now there wasn't any of the crazy pattern.
almost no harlequins or pinstripes available. I remember the Repashy bottle, which wasn't called Repashy at the time. It was called T-Rex Crested Gecko Diet. And it had like a pinstripe crested gecko that was like fairly embellished. It was very bright and like kind of almost neon, and it was like a full pinstripe. And I think at that time I probably thought it was fake, but it was something that Alan had, and it was, he hadn't really started releasing them at that point. I don't think I got our first like full pinstripe crested gecko until like 2005.
Okay.
So,
when did we produce Wellerap.
We produced Wellerap in 2007.
Yeah.
Is
And
that
he's,
what?
like, he's like a really nice quad stripe, like a yellow quad stripe. We
Okay.
still have that gecko. He
That's
still
what-
he still breeds. Yeah.
That's what that crested gecko pendant is actually based off of, is this pinstripe. I could grab it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Super
So
cool.
we have some animals here that are getting close to 20 years old
Wow.
that are
Wow.
still good breeders, males and females.
Wow, that's super. And what at what time do you think it started really picking up as far as the kind of dominating the market? I'm always curious about kind of the history of it. Just seems like
Like
they're
crested geckos specifically.
yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed like forever. It was just like building up. Like, I mean, you still go to a show and people have never seen a crested gecko somehow.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I've never seen one of those before. I'm like, well, you've been living under a rock for the last
Yeah.
10, 15 years. I mean, you know, it might be their first show that they've ever been to or whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's pretty hard to gauge because it's just been like a very steady
Mm-hmm.
progression. When we first started getting stuff, it was like, oh, you would buy, hey, if I could get a 5 lot of crested geckos or whatever, like I would buy it regardless of what they look like because you couldn't get that many. So you would buy them and then keep 1 or 2 that you really liked or breed them for a season and then kind of phase them out with nicer, you know, nicer stuff. Or there were quite a few people that were getting animals from Repashy back then that were basically keeping them for a little while and reselling them as well. So they'd have like a, you know, they'd get in some pretty nice animals. They'd keep the top, you know, few percent for themselves and then kind of phase them out as they got nicer and nicer stuff and kind of use that to fund what they were doing. So this is actually a Wellerap here. So this is a quad stripe that we hatched out in 2007.
Wow.
So
the
this
color
was
is so
like,
gorgeous.
this was super, super nice then.
Yeah, that was so beautiful.
Looks pretty washed out here. The coloration looks terrible on this camera.
Yeah, it's a,
It
it's
looks
a
pretty
line.
decent there.
You can tell the is it kind of like a purple, like a little bit of a light purple?
Yeah, he used to be more
Yeah.
yellow, and now it's more like a gray,
Lavender.
base. I wonder if it's just so much light coming from the top or
I
what.
wonder.
Maybe.
Still
I don't know. That
good.
looks
He's
pretty
stud, though.
decent there. But yeah, he's been a really good breeder for us. And we hadn't paired him up for 4 or 5 years, but we decided to pair him up a year and a half ago or so, and he still produced just fine. And we had a female actually that we got at a similar time that we decided to just like do a super old school pairing that we'd never paired up before, and they produced some really, really nice animals. It just goes to show, like, you know, if you're picking up nice animals and you're selective with what you do get, that they can still be relevant 5, 10, potentially 10 to 20 years later even. I'm going to grab it.
That's
Yeah,
that's a pretty good
he's
point to
solid.
make too. I think a lot of people, you know, trying to get into it, they just looking at how many people are doing it and kind of maybe makes them a little apprehensive to get into certain species and that kind of way. So if saying that, you know, if you start off with really nice animals and market yourself in a way, I think that could, we also talk about that too, and kind of your journey on what kind of made you grow this and what lessons you've kind of learned along the way.
So it's interesting because it can go multiple different directions depending on what your goals are. But there's a lot of people that want to buy on a budget but want really specific animals, and sometimes those things don't necessarily go hand in hand, right? So you might have somebody that wants I'll use a really nice empty back female crested gecko, you know, pinstripe as like an example, like ready to breed. Okay, well, it's a super specific animal and you have a look in mind, you're probably going to pay a premium for it, right? So I when we got into it, we didn't go the route of buying exactly what we wanted. What we did was we bought animals that had the potential to look how we wanted, and we would buy 3 or 4 of those for the price of, say, the adult female that we were looking for. And then we raise them up and see which ones are the best ones. In a lot of cases, you get animals as good or better than what you were looking for. But it seems like in this market, not a lot of people know how to pick an animal that has the potential for what they're looking like, what they want it to turn out, right?
Right.
And
Or willing to put the time into growing it out from a juvenile.
And so it seems like the market and society has just gotten more instant gratification. I want it to look exactly like what I want now, but a lot of the time those animals aren't for sale, or they're at a premium price. So that's where I think buying from a breeder that has a pretty good idea on how an animal should turn out is pretty important. And I think it's oftentimes overlooked, because you can get certainly better value by doing that, and still get just as nice of genetics and stuff too. So
yeah, it's one of those where you have to trust the breeder, because starting out, your eye is not really fully trained on what to look for and your knowledge of the lineages and all that. So finding breeders you can trust seems the way to go.
Tough too, because there's also a lot of people trying to sell you stuff that they're hyping it up, and it might not be as nice, and just because it does come from a certain pairing doesn't necessarily mean it is going to be super nice, or the color that the breeder expects, or so it's kind of a little bit of a gamble, but most of the time it's paid off pretty well for us, I would say.
I mean, it probably depends on species too, but how long do you kind of hold them before you decide if you're keeping it or kind of letting it go, or does it vary on the pairing? It may be.
Yeah, it really depends, because like some Kahua don't really show their adult coloration, until they're a year and a half, 2 years old or more.
Right.
But sometimes after 6 months that it's not really what you want, but sometimes you can work that into another program too. Like I don't know, I talk about this with our friends quite a bit. Like, you don't only want to produce high-end animals. I mean, some people do, but my goal isn't. Like, part of our favorite things to do is to sell somebody their first Kahua. Not everybody wants to spend $1,000+ on their first animal. So having like a really nice range of pricing and like color varieties and stuff like that is important to us as well. I think they're all super awesome animals. Like, my goal isn't only to have animals that look nothing like what you might find in the wild.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as crested geckos go, I think that ship is pretty well sailed. But like most other animals, I feel like are in some aspect of their range of what we produce is fairly close to a wild type, and I like to keep that kind of in check as well.
What kind of got you guys into the Kahuas? When did you start getting into those?
We got our first one in 2005.
I would say, I think we probably got one in probably 2005.
I think it was 2005. We got Sarge as a baby.
No, we got Sarge in 2006. But we got that green. We got that green male, and we got the freebie from Alan in 2006 maybe.
I don't remember what ever got us.
I
think we just liked keeping the crested geckos and wanted something else that was similar care. But
I tell people this at shows. Like, I remember the first time I saw a Kahua in a deli cup, I think it was at the Des Moines show, and it's from a guy named Mike Fight. Grand Scale of Geckos, I think was the name. And he just had like a couple little brown ones, and they're tiny, no color, and their tails are just all curled up. And you're like, oh, it's kind of cute, but why is it $300? Like, that's kind of what my initial reaction was. But they grew on me super quick when I was able to like handle them and just like check them out, like the eyes and everything. I feel like it's hard to fully appreciate from like just a juvenile that's not showing a lot of coloration, or like that isn't particularly handleable. But most people that like get to handle or interact with like a subadult to adult size animal, regardless of color or anything, I mean, the eyes and everything are just pretty mesmerizing, I feel like.
I feel like they're the most fun, like, at least from our experience of the new cow species, to grow up too, because they do change, like the colors and everything change so much. Once they hit that like 15 gram ish range, their colors start to pop, and they look nothing like they did when they were when they first hatched. So that's always exciting too.
Yeah, the first one I saw was in a deli cup. This one was a subadult, so it had a lot of pinks and greens in it. It was like I was just vending a show, and it was one of the customers, or just like guests that was just walking around. She kind of showed it to me, got out, and I handled it, and I was like, wow, this thing is like really, really cool. And so I kind of sat on it for probably 6 months to a year, just kind of like thinking about it, and then finally just made the jump into it, and they're just awesome. I love the colorations, and all of that. So yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with them too now.
Yeah, I also feel like as far as geckos go, they have one of the most like monitor like body structures with like the longer neck, and like you know, they sort of posture a little bit more like some of the more intriguing like monitor lizards and stuff. They're also one of the smartest geckos, I feel like.
Super smart. Yeah, I have one male. Yeah, you can't see him in this cage. But yeah, every time I come in to feed, he just comes right to the front. I just open and he kind of jumps and it will hang out with me as I feed everybody else. So he's just real personable. He just comes and puts his little, hands on the glasses like, let me out, So yeah.
I love them.
I really like them too. One question I had, kind of as a person, because this is my first year breeding, I've had a few babies. How do you establish the babies as far as like, when do you get them started on food wise, and how does that change up in the first?
We set them up. We set them up pretty basic, actually. Do you want to just grab a bin?
Yeah, I'll see if I have them.
Because this is what I'm learning and trying to get them on food and all of that. So,
are these cresteds on this part, or?
Yeah, they're all crested. I'll grab a.
Okay. Basically, we start them off in a 6-quart tub. And I feel like there's a few things that are pretty important. Obviously, some kind of climbing structure, but I feel like a humid hide and something with texture in the cage are very important. We used to use egg flats, and I don't use egg flats on anything anymore. First off, I think nothing enjoys egg flats. It's just like a terrible surface. Like, can you imagine trying to like lay on egg flats as like something that looks like a flat spot to lay on? Like, it would be terrible. Like for a hatchling, it could curl up in the little egg pocket, right? But otherwise, it's awful. So this is like a fresh hatchling kahua setup.
I think I have a video on our Instagram.
So it's basically a 6-quart bin. We've got this plastic mesh that's in an arch for it to climb on.
Yep.
And then there's just a fake hide for something to cover. And then I run a couple pieces. We've got these bark chunks that we collect that I think are mostly from cottonwood trees. So we've got these like bark chunks that are super flat on the bottom.
They work perfect.
And we run a few of those. And then a couple other tricks. So I like the texture for shed. I've got a small square shipping container with sphagnum moss that we spray down a couple times a week, and the little ones use these a lot. So there's no lid on it. It's just sphagnum in a cup, and they go in there. And then so that gives them humidity to help soften up the shed, and then it gives them texture to rub on. And then other than that, placement of food in a spot where hopefully they're not walking through it. So like a little, like I'll put it right by the piece of bark so they can eat from the log, and then just a little water bowl, and we'll spray that a couple times a week.
And then when they get older, a little bit older too, we have these little, what is this?
This is an inch and a half PVC pipe I use for food bowl holders.
He cut down it fits these little 3/4 ounce cups. So we cup feed dubia from those.
So we'll put
that by the piece of bark.
We'll put like 5 to 10 little dubia, like nymph to like what I call the small plus dubia. And we'll put those in all the cages twice a week, and they'll just cup feed for the bugs. They'll get crickets too, but we produce a ton of dubia, so it's nice to have them just like contained, and you can tell whether they're eating them because the dubia don't get out of the cups unless the geckos knock them out. So
at what age or size do you start with the insects on them?
They'll usually start eating dubia at 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay. So a month old.
Some won't, but it's pretty incredible how much live food, even like once a week, helps really bump the growth up.
Yeah. We have heat tape on all of our racks and everything too. It gives them kind of a good gradient.
Yeah, in the summer, I have the heat tape set to 82, but the ambient in the room is usually 72 to 78. So they get a bit of a temperature gradient from the back of the bin where the heat tape is to the front. And we have good airflow in here too, so it kind of helps keep the air moving and stuff in the room.
It's pretty similar to what mine at a little bit.
Yeah, so I think aside from that, it's just trying to like, you're down in Florida, you're probably not going to be spraying a whole lot.
No,
You
it
know?
stays pretty moist. I mean, this room stays at 75, 77 ambient.
Yeah.
Humidity is like
Yeah.
50%, you know?
Yeah. See, at that point, I'm trying to drop it with a dehumidifier to like 60.
Yeah.
It's like, but so, you know, you're probably not spraying the cage a whole lot, but it's kind of like if you notice, like the nice thing about having a humid hide like that in the cage is you can gauge how wet the cage actually is, right? If you spray down the humid hide and you get it right where you want it, and you can not like wringing water out of it, you can tell, you know, in some conditions you'll have 76% humidity, but something like that will still dry out, you know, and in some 76% humidity, that'll never dry out, depending on like airflow and, you know, what your other, you know, temperature parameters and stuff like that are. So you can use the humid hide to say, oh, well, if it's humid, it's got a humid spot in here, but I don't need to spray the cage at all. It's good. Well, maybe at that point it's too humid. I can dehydrate the whole room, or, you know, with the dehumidifier. Because in the summer we run a dehumidifier a decent amount in here, and we'll cycle it back and forth, whether it's on or off, depending on what the room is doing and how the cages are doing, and if they're too wet and stuff like that. So in some cases the humidity is too high because, you know, you're just not getting enough airflow throughout the room. You know, 76% is great, but what's the airflow in that scenario? If it's not very good, it can potentially cause some other issues. So
Right. 100%. Yeah. It's all kind of a balance, and it's hard to help people because everybody's lives in different parts of the country. So it's really dependent on that. So I'm trying to find other breeders here and kind of see what they do it at. I think since moving, they seem happy, but yeah.
I was talking to a friend not too long ago, and they've got their animals in North Carolina in an area where it's super humid, and they were having issues, I think, with the humidity was too high, like their dehumidifier got plugged up or something. And so the dehumidifier wasn't pulling moisture, and then he ended up with shedding problems from the humidity being too high. Because that's another thing. And especially on egg flats, if your humidity is high and you have like egg flats or something that doesn't maintain like a rough surface with texture, then it's hard for them to like get the shed started, and it can actually like cling to them worse than if the humidity was lower.
Interesting.
Okay. So easy.
Yeah, egg flats mold easy, and like once they get damp, they don't really ever like. Yeah, if you have like a dry egg flat and you rub it on your skin, like it's fairly coarse, right?
Right.
But the second it gets damp once, it doesn't maintain that, so it's not good for aiding in shedding.
Right.
And so that's where I feel like honestly, for a while we actually had hundreds of pumice stones, like flat pumice stones in every cage for texture, just specifically for shedding and stuff. So
I never thought that's a smart idea too.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that you'd want to put like a rocky surface in with a crested gecko or something, but you know, in the wild they have tree bark and stuff to climb around on, and it's coarse. So to try to find something that gives them some coarse texture to rub on is beneficial, I feel like.
Yeah, I didn't think about the have to look at the pumice. I usually have like cork bark in mine, and some plants and a little humid hide, and then paper towel.
Cork is pretty solid. The pumice, I don't know if it was something we tried. We did it for probably close to a year in like hatchling cages. It was kind of a pain, and also really sucked to clean. Yeah, because it floats, one, and two, it's absurdly porous. But I mean, so is cork bark. It's almost impossible to like fully clean it, you know?
Right.
Nice to have at least a little more natural too.
Yeah, it's a little more natural. It's like we had like light gray and green, or light gray and pink. Freaking pumice stones in the cages for a while. It was better than nothing, but it wasn't ideal.
We try a lot of different things, though.
Colorful. Is there anything else that you've kind of tried that you kind of keep doing that you really liked, or anything that you're like, you probably wouldn't recommend?
This most recent setup has really worked well.
Yeah, it's been going pretty good. I mean, we did switch over to using cypress mulch once the geckos get up to a certain size on a lot of cages, and that just reduces paper towel swapping and stuff.
Holds
humidity good. It works out pretty well, and I mean, there's some pros and cons to it, but overall I enjoy that as well.
It's nice to not have as much waste. Like,
yeah,
we can just throw it out in the yard, or
Yeah, we
On
just like
trails or
chuck it in
whatever.
some trails in the back when it gets nasty. So
Yeah. I have to look into that too. Yeah, I think I have some similar in these enclosures. Yeah, keeps the humidity in pretty well and helps.
yeah,
with-
almost too much. That's probably my biggest downside to these cages. I feel like the ventilation kind of sucks.
Mhm.
I do have a bunch of computer fans that I'm hoping to hook up to my misting system to control them at some point. I have all the
Mhm.
fans. I just haven't, I want to custom wire them all,
Mm.
which is one of my OCD downfalls. It's a pro, but it's also a con because it takes forever to do it. But I want to rewire them so they're linkable with like barrel type plug-in connectors.
Mhm.
All the fans, and then I have all the cages drilled so each pair of cages can share a fan,
Oh wow.
like split on a wall. And then what I'll probably do is I'll probably try it out, like just have the fans run for like 5 minutes an hour or something like that. I'm not running them all the time, but just something to get some positive airflow in the
Circulation,
cages.
Right.
And then also stagger it like off the misting system. Oh, the misting system ran maybe 30 minutes after that ran. I'll kick the fan on for 10 minutes or something. Just to, I think that's a something that's missing in a lot of cage setups. Even if they have sufficient ventilation to let the cage kind of air out, I think that the overall airflow in the cage just sucks.
Yeah.
It's not natural at all. And so it's hard. I mean, ideally you'd put everything in like a freaking ReptiBreeze screen cage and you just keep the humidity and air circulation in the entire room like perfect.
Yeah.
But that's obviously a lot easier said than
great
done
house.
in a lot of setups, particularly where we're at. So
100%. Yeah, I listened to some Green Tree Python. I have Green Tree too podcasts too, and yeah, some of them really hype on the keeping the room humidity a certain humidity versus focusing like on the cage humidity so much because of the airflow factor. So yeah, it's probably similar to that too. So that's why I've been trying to dial it on a room kind of setup.
yeah, so we shoot for about 60 in the room because more than that, we tend to have like molding issues and stuff like that. But we do have misting systems that spray most of the caging for us. But that fluctuates how much is going on by cage size and species and elevation in the room and time of year.
Yeah.
So we bounce that around a decent amount. So.
Right too. Huh. Okay. Trying to see if there's any questions for it. Yeah, if you guys are kind of new coming in, the Andrew Sarah donated these pendants, these beautiful pendants that we'll send to you guys. So if you guys want to ask questions, we'll kind of choose the best question at the end. I don't see any quite yet.
We've got some of them here. Here's the Gecko eye set up as a keychain.
Yeah, it's super pretty.
And so this is actually a combination of a kahua eye and a lychee eye.
Oh wow.
I wanted sort of the lobed perspective of like the lychee eye versus just like the more of the slit that the kahua have, because it's a little more interesting. But that's the bigger one, and then here's the little bit smaller one that we usually run it like on a necklace or zipper pull, and then this is the crested gecko one.
Yeah, that's super cool. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat, and we'll answer them and send you guys these. So perfect. I guess one personal question I had too with mine in the wintertime with the kahua specifically, do you change anything as far as temp and feeding? Because I know people kind of like maybe cycle them, like they'll have the temp kind of cooler and not feed them as much. It's not like a brumation, but kind of cycling them out.
Well, I'll tell you what we do, and then I'll tell you what we would do ideally. Because it's not, it's easier to say exactly what you should do, but it's a lot harder to do it depending on the setup. So what we do is, for the most part, for almost all of the males, we try to pull them and shoebox spin them for 1 to 2 months. And we stick them in a part of the basin that gets to like low to mid 60s.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm trying to get them fairly cool. If you look up temps, I tell people to do this all the time. If you just punch in like Numia, New Caledonia, I have no idea if that's how you actually pronounce the name of that city. It's French and I don't have a clue. This is not exactly where you're going to find kahua or crested geckos, but it's a city in New Caledonia that has will show up on like the Weather Channel app, right? You're not going to necessarily have like a city where you're specifically finding these things. If you punch it in, you will be amazed at what the temperature fluctuation is. It will get into the mid 50s and it will get into the mid 90s. So these animals can absolutely tolerate temperatures into the mid 60s, and they can absolutely tolerate temperatures. I push it more than a lot of people do. They can tolerate temps easily into the mid 80s, but they need to be able to retreat from that. And they can tolerate higher temps than that. I've temp gunned leeches, kahua, and gargs with a temp gun body temp of 90 plus to 95 degrees. So
we see them up basking, especially gravid females
in the morning.
Yeah, they'll be up basking towards the top of the cage and everything.
So
they will certainly take advantage of that.
I do try to cool them down. So in the room where we keep everything, my normal nighttime temperature in the summer is like 72 to 74 for nighttime temp. I try to get that at least into the upper 60s. So I try to get like a 5 to 10 degree temperature drop for the nighttime. And that's also going to bring the daytime down. And then I do drop the light cycle. So let's say I have my lights on from like 6 to 8, so 14-hour time frame in the summer. I might drop that to 8 to 10 hours of light. Reducing light and reducing temp definitely helps. And I wouldn't say it's necessary by any stretch. I've bred all of the New Caledonian stuff without doing anything different, in the winter, aside from maybe a little bit of like a natural cool down. But that's what we try to do now. And ideally, I was talking to Phil Tremper at Tinley, and he's like, I get the whole room in the 50s.
Wow.
All the New Cal stuff drops into the 50s. So I don't know if this is the necessary for like all hobbyists to be doing this, but they'll certainly tolerate it. And at that time frame, a lot of people are also, reducing food because they're just significantly less active. So you just got to make sure that's like keeping decent humidity so they don't dry out if they're not like real active and stuff. So I'll pull our male. I'll pull like the leaf tail geckos and stuff like that, and we'll try to cool them down quite a bit. I can't get it cold enough in this room because when we built this place, we like super insulated everything because multiple walls are exterior concrete walls in a basement. And so it's insulated quite well, and it's hard to get it cold in here. And then we have multiple walls that are just lined with heat tape for hatchlings and stuff. So I dropped those too. I think I told you I have the heat tape set to like 82 in the summer. I think I dropped the heat tape to like 74. So it's keeping it warmer than it would be, but it definitely allows the temps to drop quite a bit. So
yeah.
I do think those things help.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of it seems beneficial to them in having that natural cool down cycle. We always think reptiles need to be constant temp all the time when that's not maybe the most beneficial as far as their internal biology.
It's also, we have pretty much everything in one room, so it's kind of hard to get like a nice balance. I don't want to drop the hatchlings to 55 degrees because I'll get zero growth on them. So I just try to find like a happy medium where things seem to work out pretty well. I do think there are better ways. If you had separate rooms for different climates would be certainly the ideal way to do it, in which case I would be able to get it colder in here, but I don't really want to like completely nuke it. And I do just sort of ambient room temperature incubation on everything too. So I don't want to I would have been incubating some of these eggs at up to 78 degrees, a month ago, 2 months ago, and they're still incubating. I don't want to drop them to 65 really. I don't think that's particularly ideal.
No, I incubate mine in the room too. It's been around, I don't know, around 6. I would say the past ones, maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe closer to 90 days, maybe 90 to like 100 for the kahuas anyways. 90 to 100 days about is where I'm at. I think I had one go to like 110 or 120 maybe, but.
Yeah, we've done a decent amount of attempts at incubation temp sex study with kahua. So we've had them, I think the fastest I ever hatched them out was in the maybe 68
days.
Wow.
That's fast.
I think that's at sustained temp of like 82 to 84.
Mm.
And then I have had them take as long as 190 days when you sustain them at like 68 to 72. So you can have a massive range of like how long they take to incubate. And same goes with crested geckos.
Did you find what were your thoughts on like the size difference in like incubation? Like the ones that were faster, were they smaller than the ones that took longer?
Yeah, so there's with crested geckos and kahua, I would say it was fairly similar, where there's a certain point where if you stretch the incubation out, you're not really going to gain anything in size. But there's sort of like this range way down cold where you gain nothing, and a range on the high side where they will incubate essentially too fast, and the skin's like almost somewhat translucent, and they're smaller, and they're like almost premature hatchling just because they incubated so fast.
Yeah.
So
like on crested geckos, the head structure was consistently worse on the ones that would hatch sooner.
Yeah. I would say
color was the color with crested geckos was the other thing we noticed.
Yeah, you can change the coloration a decent amount with crested geckos, and you probably could with kahua too. I would imagine it would be fairly similar. You're generally going to get brighter colors from faster incubation, but with crested geckos also worse head structure because there's less time for the like the scalation and stuff to grow in essentially, and they do not necessarily develop that after they hatch. So some of it's genetics for sure, but you can also influence it with incubation temperature.
That's really interesting. Yeah, the
I
color
didn't
thing.
find anything conclusive with sex though, so not with crested or kahua. I had a pretty natural variation of plus or minus 10% off of 50-50, so I don't know for sure what's going on there.
Okay.
I want to do more of it, but it's been quite a while since we did that. Probably 12 to 15 years, probably since we were playing around with that.
Yeah, we need to get a good, consistent setup with it.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if you repeated though, if your results would be similar.
Yeah, I am curious too because I feel like we are. I feel like stuff is hatching faster in a similar. This is again just my assumption. I feel like things are hatching a little bit quicker at the roughly the same temperature range as what we were keeping stuff at previously, but we're also feeding a lot more live food. And so like I question, what's going into the egg for development and then how does it compare to what we would have gotten before? But also we've got much better like temperature and data logging stuff now that we recently picked up that would keep track of temperatures and potentially better incubators. But if somebody wants to play around with it, it's super easy. What we did was we took clutches and we split them. So I would take one egg I would say take 50 clutches and I would run them all at 72 to 76, like natural room fluctuation. And that's like my base, right? And then my sample group. And then I would take it and I would drop the temp 2 to 4 degrees until I felt like it was almost too much. And I would sustain those temps. So the main ones we tested were at 68 to 72 sustained, 72 to 76, and then like 80 to 82. But when we did the lower temp and the higher temp, we would take a clutch and we would split them. Okay. And so that way you're comparing the same genetics from a pairing, and you can see if there's a fluctuation from that. And it's very beneficial to have a gauge of like, hey, this pairing usually produces animals that look like this, for that first sample group. And then when you split them, you sort of are looking at something different. It's hard with kahua because obviously they're not producing hardly any offspring. So with cresteds, it's easy because you get a ton. And so you could easily sample, hundreds of animals in one breeding season at multiple different temp groups. But with kahua, it's tough because you might only get 2 to 6 offspring from a pairing in a season. And that's not a big enough sample size in any of those temperature groups. Then you split that temp group or that into 2 separate temp groups now, and you might only have 1 to 3 eggs in each, temperature group from a particular pairing. So it makes it kind of tough.
Yeah, that would be tough from a number standpoint to be able to
change on gargoyles to
make a direction.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine you would see potentially similar things with gargs and some other animals. In the wild, you do see some variation because you have some species, like I'll use black-tail rattlesnakes, for an example. In Arizona, they have this massive like elevation range. Like you might see them at 1,000 or 2,000 feet of elevation, but you might find them at 7,000 feet of elevation. And so as you go through these elevation ranges, you'll see intense like color variations based on like the altitude. I mean, there might be some of it might be locality specifically or genetics, of course, but you can also see some of it that's also potentially temperature related. So
I've heard that with leopard geckos. I mean, that was the first thing I bred. That was an argument too. Like the hotter temperatures, you would get brighter kind of coloration from that.
Yeah, people would incubate for sex first and then change the temperature to potentially affect coloration and stuff. So
that's what they would do. Yeah,
it's not really. That wasn't really. I initially went into it just trying to determine sex because everybody's like, oh, the hotter you incubate, the more males you get, and the colder you incubate, the more females you get. Basically, cresteds, kahua, whatever is what everybody said, and I didn't really find any rhyme or reason to it across what I felt was like the widest range of temperatures that you could legitimately incubate them at.
Right.
I would not advise anybody to incubate crested geckos or kahua were the ones that I tested above 82 degrees sustained. I think that's 80 to 82 sustained is asking for trouble for sure.
Trouble, yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think some people say for leechies to get males, like they crank those things like hot.
Really?
Like 82 to 84, I think. We've never hatched a male leachianus here.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we don't produce a ton, but I've probably produced a couple hundred.
We need to figure out maybe how to
I need to get some a bit warmed up for sure. Because that
yeah.
I mean yeah.
So it sounds like temperature with them has an impact then. That's really interesting from the new cow standpoint. I wonder what makes those guys genetically like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but also very likely laying eggs in like a tree hollow 30 feet off the ground. So probably warmer, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. And what about your thoughts? I'm always curious too on like diet. Like we kind of just do the powder diet and insects, but do you think at least the kahuas or if there's anything missing? I've been kind of making my own food too. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I definitely think there's something missing. I don't know what. We feed a mix of Repashy and Pangea here, and we have like 3 or 4 varieties of each. So we'll like grab one of each brand and mix them 50-50. And sometimes we're throwing a banana in there or strawberries or, something. And, kind of adding a little fruit or adding a little extra mineral or Repashy calcium plus or,
who were we talking
whatever.
Steve Schmelly we were talking to about them finding them like along the streams and stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder if they aren't eating more like
some form of
snails or crustacean type in their diet too. Because one of the people we were talking to, Steve Schmelly, was mentioning how they would find the kahua like in trees near like stream, like moving streams and everything.
Interesting.
So it makes you wonder if there's something.
Or again, just a high humidity environment that has proper airflow that's super hard to recreate in captivity. So even with my misting system running and half the cage damp, I'm still also not able to create that sustained humidity with like a nice airflow. It's super hard to do. So it's possible that like, you're drying part of the cage out, part of it's staying, more damp, and you're just not hitting quite the right stuff there. But producing kahuas, I mean, it takes a toll on the females for sure. I mean, those eggs, I did some egg mass comparisons back in the day where I would like weigh females up until they would lay, and then I would weigh the female right after they would lay, and I would weigh the eggs. And the egg mass to female weight ratio is 15 to 25%.
Wow.
Egg. It's
That's huge.
huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's a lot of your mass that you're
So I think the lowest percentage I got from like maybe my 80 to 90 gram females was like 12% body mass, but average was certainly over 15% on that. And these are things that people can do at home, just out of curiosity, right? Like pick something you're curious about and grab a scale. It takes an extra, you know, few seconds here and there when you know an animal's close to laying, and you start checking stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things we don't know about them or don't know enough about. And, you know, the more information that we can gather, the better as far as trying to get these animals all dialed in. But I do agree, at least with Kahua, that there's something lacking in the diet to try to keep these females in like tip top shape when they're producing eggs. Yeah. And a lot of females will just get a wavy tail. They'll get their head will cave in a little bit. They'll quit eating for a week or two before they lay sometimes. And it's just a bad combo when you're laying eggs that are by far more massive than any that I've ever compared from any other
and a lot more
geckos.
calcium too.
Yeah, just a ton of calcium.
Yeah. More calcium. I just leave the dish in mine to lick out of, and then I usually give them like the liquid calcium after they lay or something like that. Like
in the past, I was not a big fan of like free range calcium stuff, but I tried it for the first time this season, and I was blown away with how much freaking just plain calcium these things will lap up.
Yeah, those go right after.
Like it's nuts.
And I almost noticed it. They would eat it more right before they laid. Like that would be like an indication cluing me in that she was about to lay. When I either saw her eat her, I would just notice that it was gone a lot, and then boom, I'd see eggs. So kind of cluing me in.
So my biggest concern, like for sure, some of these animals, or maybe even a majority of them, are low on calcium, right? Based on just like I won't say that the wavy tail is 100% calcium related. I think it's a whole sort of net nutrient
hydration
and hydration loss, not just specifically calcium. But clearly when a female does go into the verges of MBD or a calcium crash issue, clearly she's lacking calcium, right? So like at what range do you bounce back from that and then potentially like over supplement on calcium? And so I was a little worried about that, but basically what I decided I was going to do is I'm going to take those little 3/4 ounce cups that I showed you that were in the little 1.5 PVC pipe, and I'm just going to like cover the bottom, right? Like I'm not going to put a lot in there, but I'm going to cover the bottom. I'm just going to do that like once a month and let them eat it all. I do think that the potential is there for them to overdo it if it's full and in there all the time. But I also feel like the potential for them in the wild to find some type of calcium rich, you know, prey item a few times a year. Oh, it's snail season. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And they just gorge on that stuff. You know, it's very possible that they can take a pretty huge dose of it and then store it and then sort of release it as they need it. So my thing has been like maybe once or twice a month during breeding season to offer this first time around and kind of see how that goes based on just like, I feel like the potential is there for them to like almost way overdo it as well. I had some that literally like crapped like almost straight white after
really
themselves on it. Yeah.
Because like medically, like as a vet, I think it's really, I mean, I don't see reptiles on the regular, but it'd be a lot more rare to see over calcification than under. But it's probably also people not also overdoing it. So given the opportunity, maybe you'd see a spike in cases of hyper.
Yeah, so I don't know what the best way is to like moderate that, but that's kind of what I'm trying. I'm not sure that I would leave like a dish and refill it every single time I'm feeding. But I feel like once or twice a month, something that they're going to consume a moderate amount is still certainly more than what you're getting in just dusting and properly gut loading the live feeders and what they're potentially getting. I mean, you know, I'm sure Repashy and Pangea and most of these companies will tell you there's more than enough calcium in it already. But I can also tell you from a breeder's perspective that I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they might be taking in the full, like more than enough, like on paper, but that doesn't mean that they're properly metabolizing it and like functionally using it in the egg production versus like leaching it from their bones and, you know, whatever else, which is what ultimately ends up happening, I think. What were you going to say?
I don't remember. Oh, or if they're just not eating, like, especially females that are getting close to laying, they don't eat well.
Yeah, they're not eating the diet the week or two before they lay all that well. So if they have that extra calcium reserve, if they're not getting it from the diet that they're eating during that time frame, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's maybe why I see them eat a little bit more than usually.
Yeah,
Right
maybe
before
they don't feel
lay.
like eating, but they'll take the calcium.
Yeah. Another thought I had, I heard on another podcast. It wasn't Gecko specific, but they were talking about like using it in their supplementation. I think it was crustacean powder or like snail powder. So that kind of got me. I don't know if you even like thought about that too, or because it may be crustacean near the water. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I've discussed this a little bit, I think, with Philippe and Alan, and now AJ Davidson's working on some diet stuff, and we've kind of bounced it around a little bit because you can get like shrimp type powders and stuff and whatever. I don't know if stuff would actually go for it. I have no idea.
No, if you understand, try it.
But we're definitely going to play around with it a little bit because I mean, you know, there's certainly possibility of like little land crabs and snails and all sorts of other, you know, who knows, maybe some form of isopods or something that are available over there. I don't know for sure what's all on the menu, but I guarantee you it's not 80 or 90% liquid fruit.
No. It's like, yeah, we get by with it, but I'm like, is this really like the most ideal thing? But I don't know, just where they're at so primitive as far as access to it, like we really don't know. I feel like New Caledonia, it's hard to get to. Not a lot of people travel to it. I feel like
it's expensive and it's hard to get into proper habitat. There are some people putting out some good content.
Dave put one out. I think Dave Common put one out.
Dave went out, and then also I don't know what the guy's name is, but they're posting up on the Blue River diet stuff. They link it up with him, and he's out there with a temp gun and a hygrometer and a UVB meter, checking, hey, here's a crested gecko, and these are the conditions we found it in, and you know, stuff like that. And I think that stuff's super important for sure.
Super important, super interesting too.
Are you using UVB on yours right now or not?
I do yes, they all have UVB on my grow outs and the ones I'm breeding. Yeah, I do put UVB on them.
I've tested it a little bit. I don't have it on most of the new cal stuff. Do you have a UVB meter?
I do not.
You should.
Okay. To test it. Okay.
It's interesting because I have a UVB meter and I have UVB on almost nothing.
Yeah.
But it's pretty fascinating to, well, first off, I've been testing a fairly decent variety of bulbs for close to 4 years. I have yet to have a single one not test good with the meter.
Okay.
So it'll pay for itself in just not replacing bulbs when you don't have to.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's like 6 months, replace it or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got some Arcadia bulbs here that I've been running full time for 3 years, and they still test as good as new.
Wow. I mean,
that's every single one of them. So you spend $200 to $250 on a meter.
Yeah.
It'll pay for itself in 10 light bulbs, and you can fine tune your setup significantly better. So what I find pretty interesting, like we were using like a Arcadia 6.0 shade dweller on a bunch of stuff, like Fantasticus and whatever. And so when you take the meter and you run it like right on, you know, it's pretty close to 6, between like 5 and 6 on the meter. If you look at the Ferguson zone they should be at 0.75 to like 1.5 with like a max of 2 on the meter. And they'll find the perfect spot in the cage to just like tuck under a light or up on the side. So like some of the Kahua that I've tested it on will bask in like a mid zone. But then they'll shift to like a wall of the cage where they're only catching sort of the catch light of the UVB. And so they'll figure out how to get in and out of it pretty well. But the most interesting thing, I bought it actually because I got some samples of some different companies that have the LED UVBs, and those are wild. If you look at the stuff like on Amazon and some of the name brand stuff you can buy right now, like those things are kicking out like 6 times the maximum a bearded dragon should ever see.
Wow. Huh.
So you can get bulbs that will legitimately, like within a day of exposure, cause even a freaking bearded dragon to like get sunburn.
Wow.
Or torch its eyeballs or whatever. So it's been pretty fascinating, and I've only had it for a couple of years, but like I'll take it outside in the middle of summer in Iowa and just be like, oh, what's the UV index here? And it's never gotten close to what a shade dweller 6.0 from this far away will get in full sun. It doesn't even hit that outside. That's in the Midwest, of course. I haven't tried it in the desert, but
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting. I'd highly recommend that. It'll pay for itself just in the not swapping bulbs all the time savings, I feel like.
Yeah, because I might try and do that because that's what I've been over here tells every 6 months change them because they get
I'm gonna grab the meter real quick. You guys chat for a second.
Yeah. That's super interesting to get one of those.
Well, there again, it's just nice to not have all that extra waste if you don't need to be replacing the bulbs.
Yeah.
Because
they're expensive. The bulbs are expensive.
Yeah.
So this is all for anybody who's following along. This is all it is. It basically gives you it's for UVB really. So you basically press it. Right now I'm obviously gonna get none. But then on the back it kind of gives you like a Ferguson zone chart. And it kind of gives you an idea of like where stuff should be. So you can look up online like, oh, what's the recommended Ferguson zone for a crested gecko? And it'll tell you, oh, it should be in zone 1. Well, zone 1 is 0.5 to 1.0 on here, right? And it's pretty cool because if you give the animals the choice to choose where they want to go, they'll almost always find that zone for like a half hour to an hour in the morning. And then they'll do the same thing usually at night. And then they'll kind of dip out, right? So they won't be in there all day. They're not going to be exposed, but they'll pop in and out of it. So they say a lot of the things will say 6 months. The problem is it's not a visual wavelength. So you don't know when the UVB goes bad. Right? So if it goes bad and you're still getting visual light, then you assume that it's kicking out UVB, but it might not be. And that's why they tell you to just check it at 6 months. Yeah, but if you're able to check them randomly, like once a week, or, most of these animals that are getting UVB would be fine without UVB for a few weeks or a month, right? So if you were good about checking the stuff, once a month or whatever, you would know. So far, like I said, I don't have a ton. I probably got a dozen UVB bulbs in here for different species, and I have yet to have a single one test anything but brand new.
Okay,
so
good tidbit. Yeah, where can you get? Where did you get it at?
I bought this one from Josh's Frogs. I don't know if they have any right now. But anything that looks like this is basically from the same manufacturer. So I know ZoomEd has the same one. They're all going to have different, like their own branded stickers on them. But when I bought this one, the best price was at Josh's Frogs. I don't know if there's like a shortage of them right now or they didn't bring a bunch of them over because of the tariffs or what. But last time I did a scan for them, there weren't.
Maybe they don't want people buying those, so they buy more bulbs.
Yeah.
That's also true too.
Yeah.
Smart.
But yeah, so I get why they say to just replace them at 6 to 12 months because you just don't know by looking at it.
Yeah.
But for sure, like I don't think that those little UV cards that people use, I don't think those work like at all. They might change color a little bit, but some people just use like a little UV card, I guess. And I don't think those are doing you any good. So some stuff to consider. Everybody's like, oh, I think there's benefits to UVB. I think there are, but there's a lot of people that just chuck whatever UVB on the cage. And I've seen a lot of like eyes that blister up super bad or like sunburn stuff and major shedding issues caused from like too high of UV exposure and the gecko not being able to get out of it as well. So
yeah, interesting. Okay, yeah, I'm looking into those and checking it too. That's super helpful information. So cool. I think we're at like an hour. This is like when I kind of start switching over to showing like the Instagram page and kind of showing some projects off, so we can kind of do that.
Yeah. We're down for whatever. I'll chat forever. Yeah. So you'll just have to come.
Yeah, no, I want to talk about the what we're thinking is the melanistic guy. So we'll talk about that first, then I'll switch over to the Instagram page. But I'll do
Sarah's got a roll of duct tape over here if she needs to start wrapping me up.
You're good.
He's the yapper of the two of us.
It's okay. That's okay. No, it's great. This is great information.
Great.
So yeah. So I have this little guy. So tell us. This is Ripley, you said?
Yeah. So we named it Ripley because I think it looks like ripples in water.
Yeah.
in the pattern. Yeah, you can't see it there, but that's the day it hatched. It hatched super black, like a melanistic lychee kind of.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too because we have some pictures with clutch mates or siblings, and he comes from a high white pairing, but obviously he's not anything like his siblings.
No.
So we believe he's melanistic. We're hopefully next year we'll prove him out, or begin to anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there's a picture I think of the 4.
Let's see. Yep.
Yeah, so those are all of his siblings. Yeah. And what would be interesting is if it's there's potentially some markers for like the het melanistic lychees with like a dark webbing pattern on some of the ones that are het. Would be interesting if of those 4 there, you would have the top one would potentially be het, maybe the one down, but then the bottom one would more than likely not be. So of every 4 offspring, if you had a recessive pairing, you should have both parents are hets in a recessive pairing. You would get 1 visual, and then you would get 2 of the remaining 4 would be hets, and then 1 of those 4 would not be het for the trait. And so I don't know for sure if that's what's going on. That's just a guess.
There's definitely something different going on with him though, because hopefully we can prove out whatever it is, but like he's
so here he is right now,
unlike anything I've ever seen.
I have him on the let me stop sharing again. Okay, let me pull him up.
So
yeah, look at that.
Super dark.
He's got these weird bands, like ripples down.
And then the tail pattern. Actually, this is really pretty dark because sometimes the tail pattern has like this bright green outline. You can see the lighter outline on like the rings on the tail or the splotches on the tail. And so you actually get like some really funky, like bright green kind of highlights. But overall, there's almost no color. He has like a little bit of orange, but when you look at like melanistic leachianus, a lot of those are hatch out super dark, and then they dull out, and they're like a little bit darker than normal, but they're not super dark.
Yep.
So I kind of wonder if something like that isn't going on here.
Yeah, because it's very interesting. All the siblings have that like white collar. Like he has none of that.
Yeah.
His full sibling. I guess I can pull her out. She's more of like a pastel. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, the pattern overall in itself is super interesting for sure.
And how old is this guy?
What is he, a year and a half now?
He's 2.
2 now?
2.5. 2. Yeah.
But yeah, he's pretty funky.
Yeah, he is pretty. Because I've seen, some other people hatch out some dark stuff, but by the time they get older, it turns like a green. And I'm not sure.
Well, this one unfired will be more green as well.
Okay.
This is fully fired up here. And actually, you can see he's greening up a little bit already since I've just had him out. But this is his sibling.
Oh wow! Yeah, that's crazy how the difference in it. Look at
the
pastel.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, super pastel with that one. Wow.
The full sibling with the big white collar. This is clutch mate, I should say.
I wonder if because I think Brian has some that he calls hypermels. And I do question if there aren't more, like if there isn't either melanistic or hypermelanistic, or like what you're looking at is like a phantom and a crested gecko, a similar trait to that that's not mixed in with the genetics. It's not as like blatantly obvious as it was when this one hatched out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Let me see. I'm not seeing you on the.
He's weird.
Oh, do you have it on just us? Probably. Okay.
Yeah, I just blew you guys up.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't bump something here.
No. I just blew you guys up to see the.
So, I wonder if maybe some of that stuff isn't already mixed in with the gene pool, but it wasn't so blaringly obvious as it was here, where it's like the thing hatched super dark, but there's not really much for dark genetics visually in the rest of the animals that we produce from them. And so maybe it'll be a way for us to like backtrack, because we do have what's interesting is that pairing, it was the first time we ran that pairing, but we had both parents paired with other animals for several years. We've been breeding the mom for, well, we've been breeding the grandmother for probably close to 12 or 15 years.
Wow.
So if that is the case, and it's not just a random mutation that's melanistic and it's like a recessive trait, like we've single-handedly produced probably over 100 potential hets, with two different pairings.
Yeah.
Two different unrelated pairings.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have some of the animals that are half siblings to this one that are potentially het as well, and some different stuff to try to change it up. So we'll see. We haven't gotten any more from this same pairing that look like him. So who knows? Maybe it'll just be some random one-off, or maybe it will be something that he possesses the trait, but it was just some random mutation that popped up, and neither parent actually has it. So
yeah, well, I see when you who or what are your plans on with him? Bring him back to mom, or
I'm gonna try. I know it's not particularly ideal, but it's the quickest way to prove it out. And then we also have we have his siblings. We have his siblings, and we also have multiple half siblings that are going to get paired up as well.
And some of those look kind of like they're not like him exactly, but the coloration to them is a little different. So it makes me wonder if that isn't like a marker.
You can see how the green has started popping out more. Look at the tail color.
Yep.
I like it when it's in this level of fired up because the contrast on the tail is really cool.
Yeah, look, it's like almost like a tiger banding. That's really cool.
And then the pattern on the back is more obvious too, because he was quite a bit darker earlier.
Like no color otherwise.
No color, yeah, it's very dark. Yeah, he's super
pretty
cool.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
But he's.
We're excited about that. I mean, we love our high white projects and everything, but he has us excited to try some other things too. So.
Oh yeah. I would kind of try and red, more of like the red, white, and then dark for like a kind of like just a contrast project. That's what I'm kind of going for. So I got some animal or one male from Michael from his dark kind of stuff, and then some other red.
Panani or
yeah,
he's got some good stuff.
Yep. I think it was his like Black Magic. I forgot the parents' names.
He's got some funky, really dark ones.
He does have some good, nice stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna show you. Is this from him or not?
It's
just a comparison animal.
Looks like him.
All right, so I'm gonna show you what was considered to be fairly. Come here, little one. What was considered to be a fairly high white collar when we got into Kahua. This one is just a few weeks old. So when we bought Sarge, he looked about like this. Let's see if I can actually get it up here. So this was what was high white close to 20 years ago when we first got into him, which is basically a collar, okay? Yep. But you'll note this also has like no color, which I'm sure can develop into some pretty crazy stuff.
Yep.
So I'm going to show you, this is how one of the first Kahua we bought looked. And this one should get a ton of color on it. So they go through a pretty crazy ontogenetic color change. And then I'll show you what I expect this one to turn into. And from that, you're basically selectively keeping the highest patterned offspring. And then you're just selectively breeding those to other ideally unrelated high patterned offspring. So this is Sarge. He will turn 20 years old this year.
Wow.
And his coloration looks terrible on this camera, but he's like almost glowing red.
Yeah, you can see the red.
Gosh, that looks awful.
It like red.
It looks so bad. You can, on our Instagram and stuff, we have nice photos of him and like the other one. So anyways,
our profile
too.
When we got him, he had no color and he was just teeny tiny. We got him at the October Tinley Park show in 2006.
Is that better?
Not really.
Oh.
So he'll turn 20 this fall.
Oh,
we picked him up from Repashy at the show. And then over the years, I have bred it from basically that and developed them into this here.
Oh wow, look at that. Yeah, that's crazy. I think I saw yeah, look at how much white. That's insane. That is crazy. I don't think I've seen one that's more white than that.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, they're just going to be all white.
Yeah. Yeah. I like kind of like the tricolory mix,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's interesting to do it, and I love it, but it's not going to be like all that we produce because it's
That's
super
still
cool. But I also like
crazy
some
animal.
color, and I like the contrast too. You know,
Yeah, that's
still got
still
some dark stuff on the side, but it's pretty cool to
insane animal.
to produce it. And
White's not going to stay that white either, as you can see.
yeah,
But
so
yeah, it has a lot of coverage, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's insane. I can share them. I'll share you guys' Instagram too. You can look at some pictures, and ones in the chat are pretty quiet. If we have contents to give, you guys just put a question in there. You know, like it's not that ask
At this point,
anything.
just somebody asks a question, they're gonna
Yeah,
win.
that's pretty. I mean, sometimes they are quiet, but
Don't be afraid to ask whatever
question. It doesn't matter at all.
ideally, a question related to like geckos, but
Yeah, I mean that's.
you know, hair care products. You know, maybe I'll give an answer for that. We'll see.
Is this that one you guys just showed, or is this a different one?
No, that's a different one.
That's a different one.
Wow, that one's very nice too.
I like the contrast on that one.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You guys do. What's this one? Oh yeah, that's super cool too. Green keel.
Yeah,
So
the
they
little
must have-
green keel
I
lizards.
love those.
Those are one of our favorite species we keep.
I've liked. They seem really interactive little guys, like kind of like a little monitor almost.
Yeah, when they've got to be like the best bang for buck for entertainment on like a
Yeah.
reptile that you can get. We within a week or two of them hatching, the babies would all come to the door to like get treats and stuff.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Wow, this one's pretty crazy too. I just love the contrast on that one.
Yeah, like that. So that pairing actually is from a female we got from MORPH, I think in like 2007.
Take that one down.
Sarah's sad we got rid of that one.
It's one of my great
yeah.
mistakes this year.
Oh, that's really stunning animal too.
It's okay.
Oh, male Tokay is calling.
Oh, here I don't quite hear him. That's cool. Oh, there's this one. Yeah. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, I hear him now. Oh, it sounds super
Okay.
cool.
Oh, that's blown out. That looks
What is
terrible.
that? How'd
That
what it
looks
looks
so
like
bad.
on our page?
I don't know. That looks crazy blown out.
This was a vanilla ice banana lucid lily white.
It's like the sun is shining directly on top of it.
That's what it actually looks. I need to delete that one.
I thought this one's
Weird.
awesome.
Oh yeah, it doesn't look that bad in real life. Oh yeah, nice super Dow.
Yeah. Super.
Yeah, it's interesting to like the editing algorithm. Some of these like things filter into. It's kind of crazy. She was just had to check the Instagram and make sure that it didn't
look that
the
bad.
image that she uploaded didn't look that awful.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, I've noticed that too. It will edit it for you, and it's kind of like no.
Yeah, Palm Street does it super bad.
There's the
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
If
Where
you
you guys
scroll up,
go?
if you scroll up just a little bit, keep going. The one with the big black eyes, those are super funky.
Oh.
I love those ones.
What's
It's a Carpedactylus levis. It's a like Australian chameleon gecko.
Oh, okay.
They look
And
like
they're
little aliens.
super bizarre creatures.
That's super.
We're hatching
cool.
some of those out too. They're pretty fantastic.
Huh? I've never heard of those.
They're very slow moving, and I've never seen one actually move ever. So this is pretty fascinating because you'll see them in the cage and they'll be in different spots, but I've never seen one like even if you walk in the room and it's like mid-step, it'll just freeze and it'll sit there for like 20 minutes, completely frozen. They're pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Just poking its head out of the cave. Yeah. The second the lights go out, they're out and moving all over the cage, but you never see them actually move.
Huh. Those eyes are crazy. Super. Australian species are amazing. Trying to see any other. What are your guys' thoughts on Palm Street? You guys have been using it a lot. What are your kind of thoughts on it?
It's a love-hate relationship, I would say.
is also
I
funky.
I don't know. We've definitely moved a lot of animals on there, and if you're new collecting reptiles, it's certainly a way to get a really freaking good deal.
Yeah.
But I think that people selling on there need to have some level of strategy to what they're doing and not just dump everything with dollar starts and see what it goes for either. So we moved some stuff on there, but we've kind of got our own like levels, strategies and stuff that I won't drop to certain pricing and certain sales tactics on there. But at the same time, it's like, there's auctions on Morph Market and other places, and some people don't like that. In my opinion, it's a part of the market that needs to exist to move a certain level of animals and keep like an influx and sales going.
I think it probably has brought more eyes, like, that wouldn't have, known about the reptiles or whatever. But yeah, there's definitely pros and cons, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like it's way better for geckos than say like ball pythons or snakes. 'Cause I've watched a lot of the ball pythons; they just get killed on like certain projects and stuff like that, just because it's newer. People don't know, for sure. You're
the hard part is like, on Palm Street was originally based around plant sales. It's a lot easier to sell 100 plants to somebody than it is to sell 100 reptiles to somebody, right? So you have people get in there and they'll buy 5 or 10, and then they're all tapped out, but they'll still hop in there to hang out in the chat. So they'll chit chat in the chat, but they're not interested in buying anything anymore because they bought all the stuff that they can get. So I'll tell you what, when we first got into stuff, I would have been on there buying animals from breeders that were offspring from high-end animals, but not the high expression animals. It's a great way to buy stuff like that, but
you do just have to kind of watch out for the people that flip stuff.
There's a lot
of that kind of going.
There's a lot of people buying wholesale lots from people and doing super cheap starts, and they're literally selling the animals the day they get them in.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that are buying in there from sellers that are doing that think that those people produce those animals,
Right.
And that's not ideal. And we've had some discussions with Palm specifically about these issues, because ultimately it comes down to like a morality issue for us, whether we should sell on there or not. And I feel like if we're using it as a platform and we're kind of like keeping our standards where they should be, then I don't really have too much of an issue selling there. But there was a stretch there where they were letting people on that we didn't agree with, and we didn't sell on there during that time frame until they kind of fixed it. So they have done a pretty good job of like getting on like live chats with sellers and like seeing what's good and what's not, and trying to overall fix them or resolve some issues, which is nice.
I think it's a pretty good way of getting new people in, or new eye, like, and from an education standpoint too, like showing people setups and like answering questions, like visually. I think it's super helpful too to bring people in that way. And then auctioning off, a few animals and not, keeping at a certain price and all that stuff.
I think a lot of people just get on there and they feel discouraged if stuff isn't selling, so they'll just keep tanking the pricing to get stuff to move. But that's certainly not the right way to handle it. So we do also like, we'll hop on there, and whether we're selling stuff or not, we'll kind of use it as advertising also. So we'll sort of like show a project, and then you'll have some people that are in there, and maybe at that time they're not wanting to spend that much on a project or whatever, but they'll reach out and then set up a payment plan or pick something up later on too. So we use it as advertising also.
That's a good, same thing. I think it's pretty good to do that too. I mean, as far as, I feel like it's more reach than maybe say some shows, like some like local shows for advertising too. Like I know people have made the argument for that, or they're like, well, I can get a lot more reach doing Palm Street for advertising than
it's tough, because like I do still like the in-person interaction. Like we just did a small show last weekend, and it was like we were there most of the day. We sold one crested gecko and one kahua, and outsold our gecko sales with dubia roaches and 3D printed stuff, so it's kind of disheartening from one side. But
then there was this woman that was there, and her sole purpose of being there was to overcome her fear of reptile, of being around reptiles. And we got her to hold
She held a freaking GTA lychee.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was like, you don't get that on Palm Street, you know?
No,
Like,
no, that's
Or-
true. That's true.
Or just like, oh, randomly meet like some local person that's ultimately going to buy, you know, dubia, and also probably going to like an adult buy one, or get one of like adopt one of our old breeder kahua females, stuff like that. So, and just, I don't know, getting people like the interaction and like handling their first kahua or whatever is,
the little kids are always fun.
yeah.
to-
So I don't know, but yeah, at the same time, it's like I could do 2 hours on Palm Street and have sold 10 or 20 or 30 animals. And yeah, I feel like I'm
stress on
probably,
the animals too.
I feel like I'm getting burned on every sale, but at the same time, it's 10 or 20 animals out the door, and
right from
you know,
the comfort
so
of our home.
yeah, from the basement. I didn't have to stress the animals out and take them
Yeah.
out in the car and pay for food and the table and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's tough.
Yeah, yeah. Pluses and minuses, but it's anything new. I think is interesting. At least look into. You know, open mind. I guess.
It's a tool for the tool belt for sure, and I think
Yeah.
people need to kind of look at that side of it and decide if it's worth it for them or not. So
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, we're coming up on an hour and a half, and that's where I really like to keep it, just for guest time and everybody
Mhm.
else's time. Kind of keep it at a hard hour and a half. I think it's been great. I think a lot of great information that I learned that I haven't heard on other shows too, with the UVB and like the diet and all that.
yeah, what's interesting is like I talk with AJ over at AJD like all the time,
Yeah.
and Brian Susan and Kyle and Crystal at Gekana Days, and it's pretty interesting. We will literally discuss some of the most basic care of crested geckos and kahua and some of these animals we've been keeping for 15 or 20 years.
Yeah.
And we'll literally just like recycle through the same conversations. And it's like almost every year the Toke is calling again. But you keep going through this stuff and trying to figure out better ways to do things for you and the animals, you know, like it's, if you're not doing those things, then I don't know. I feel like there's always something to be improved upon, especially like, you know, here we're trying to keep things simple, but also like visually appealing as far as like caging and stuff goes. But it's also like a fairly solid operation of like hundreds of animals. So you have to find like a balance of how can I keep these animals so that they thrive, but also so I can look for eggs. And so I can do all this stuff, but, you know, also raise up hatchlings efficiently. But, you know, some people are keeping hatchlings in a sandwich container that's this big, you know, with a little twig of a fake plant in there and nothing else. And like, I don't know, like our setups are not ideal in the grand scheme of things as far as like, if I only had one crested gecko, what would I do with it? But at the same time, I'm trying to at least give them the opportunity to have some choice in their life as far as temperature, humidity, you know, a proper hide, the texture, changing of diet and stuff like that. And I feel like that's also really important because, you know, these aren't Pokemon cards you're collecting to shove in a box. You know, yes, that's kind of how we're keeping the little ones to raise them up to send them out, but it's not our end goal. My end goal is to not keep every gecko in a shoebox bin. Right. It's to like, it's to set it up in a way that is visually appealing for me and where the animal hopefully is thriving and can do, you know, trying to find a nice happy medium blend there. So
100%. Yeah. There's always better ways to improve differently. Like we talked about before, the area you live in can also have an impact on how you keep them, and everybody has restrictions on, you know, location, everything. So trying to find what works best for you and the animal, it takes some problem solving. So that's what I like a lot about, is the problem solving of it and figuring out what works for individual species, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think on the giveaway? Do you want to just run it and see if people ask questions later on, or do a giveaway on Instagram or something instead?
Yeah, do that, or maybe if I can put the names in, like people who did comment, I could put the names in there. Do like a random.
Yeah, we could just do anybody that's commented too. You could always do it later and just let us know who it's going to, or you can try to do it now. It doesn't matter. I was just curious.
Yeah, I can do it. That's what I'll probably do, is just write down, you know, the names, and I'll kind of do something after and then run it. And then, whoever the name, I'll reach out to them and then send you their information.
Cool.
And yeah.
Sounds good.
So cool. How can people, I guess, kind of best reach you if they've got questions or anything like that? If they're looking for an animal or anything like that, what would be the best way?
Well, there's our website, LACherps.com. We're on Instagram, obviously, LAC_Herps. Facebook, LAC Herps. It's all the same. So
Cool.
any of those places. Instagram is where we're usually, it seems to be where we receive messages the best. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're on
there's
Palm
that.
Street,
We're on MORPH Market
yeah.
and Palm Street and stuff. So yeah, all those places. But I would say Instagram is probably the way to get the most up-to-date info.
That's where I usually post most of our pictures and projects and stuff like that too. So
Cool. Awesome. All right. And then I put your guys' link down below too, so people can Instagram link, click on there and reach out. And yeah, so I thought great show. Thank you guys so much for your time and coming on. I learned quite a bit, and I'm sure I'll see you guys at some shows in the future and chat with you more then. So yeah,
looking forward to it. Thank you very much. Nice chatting with you tonight, and thanks for those in the chat and everything.
Yeah, thanks guys.
We'll catch you around. See you next
All
time.
right. Have a good holiday.
Yeah,
you
you too.
too.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.